there's a level of how far you can go, and we're seeing F and F. They've been able to stay right, like in front of that line without crossing it and ruining themselves, which was making them all the capital they're making. Where this Reds pill space has been going, like how it started its rise, because the rise has been nuts, and then how it's been kind of simmering down with the players involved kind of backtracking on things, which is pretty interesting to see. And how it ends up coming into conflict with, say, Aba&Preach, for example, which the red pillers want to argue are blue pill, but they're not really. Yeah, nah. Like, blue pill is what we've seen of the H3H3 group.
As the red pill.
No, well, if anything, they're in the middle. Right. They view both sides and comment on both. But because red pills always go, if you're not on our side, you're on the other side. Right. But with this, there's been a bit of a reemergence of nonsensical beef, which we thought was squashed a year ago with Aba&Preach and Fresh&Fit from before. And it's funny too, because one of the things when we was first starting this up in the first place, when we started the channel, around the time frame when we did it, was when this beef had initially went crazy in the first place. When Fresh&Fit and Aba&Preach were like going back and forth, when Fresh&Fit was throwing all these shots at them. And then they got clapped and dunked on, because at that point in time with their stature, they didn't have a lot of clout or weight to just fight against them like that. And they were taking down everybody who was under them or trying to. And it's funny because everybody has grown to a stronger stature, and after a year plus, all of a sudden they want to come back with this tea now, reinitiating a beef that we thought was 100% squashed because they ran from it. That was the whole thing. And it's interesting they're doing this now, right? And when there's this meltdown of all the red pillars of old in terms of their narratives, like The Godfather and that whole argument about men should get vasectomies, and certain people are arguing them about that line, because it's like, how would getting a vasectomy aid you in becoming high value when it could potentially become irreversible, like in terms of like how you the sperm would be if you tried to fix it afterwards. You know what I mean? You might have just clipped your making of your next generation in general. Right? Which is
exactly goofy, like we see from a lot of the red pillars. Speak on a lot of emotion and little fact. Or if they do bring up fact, it's very one-sided. Honest. And then you hear this nonsense all the time.
And I just found it funny that one of the most radical of them all, Sneeko, for example, was going so ham on this point to just prove how goofy it sounds, which I found hilarious. But he's still clearly on this argumentative stance that he has.
They absolutely have no integrity. So there's a lot that I have to say about these two. They've been lying about me for a long time. They've been lying about the cancellation. It's something that's extremely serious in my personal opinion. But they don't genuinely care about telling the truth whatsoever.
In terms of like he has his beef with Aba&Preach as well. Even though they pretty much is trying to, well, Aba specifically is trying to warn Sneeko that the path that he was going to kind of mess him up. He is still successful to a degree now, but the amount of success he could have had if he still had all the platforms he lost with this radical mindset that he went on. It's just, there's a level of how far you can go, and we're seeing F and F. They've been able to stay right like in front of that line without crossing it and ruining themselves, which was making them all the capital they're making.
Yes, we're discussing this beef between Fresh&Fit and I'm sorry. You know what? I confused it in my head. I confused Aba&Preach and Fresh&Fit. And we're discussing the beef between Fresh&Fit and Aba&Preach.
Yes.
And clearly, this just shows, like you said, the signs of this meltdown of the red pill. And it's kind of sad, but now they're corralling against this common enemy. To me, it's like some clout gain type of maneuver.
But don't you find it funny? Besides only the red pill, even though they are the focus, even the blue pill side, like H3H3 or Hassan, are also fighting against Aba&Preach. Why is everybody fighting against them all of a sudden? Sneeko, Tate, like even the Tates were doing it too.
They said, okay, there's
pretty hilarious
two things
right
that
now
was said by YouTubers that kind of make this beef makes a little more sense, right? So first is what Aba&Preach said, the imperfect allies. If you're not with them 100%, you're an enemy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which is hilarious.
There's no way to disagree.
Which is goofy. It's like you can't have your own opinion. And when there's something like disingenuous happening, they would literally defend what's happening to you even if they don't like you, because they did this for Sneeko and they also did this for Fresh&Fit. But Fresh&Fit claimed they only did that to make themselves look cleaner in terms of image. Yeah. Which is making this back and forth hilarious. But the fact that the radicals, Tate and Sneeko, have now decided to U-turn from the going too far red pill. Of course, they still have those takes, right? But they know the limit now that they've been scorned by it massively. But it made them so much money. You know what I mean? And then now the fact that they're U-turning, it just makes it all seem disingenuous in the first place. That during the pandemic, this thing rose to such an extreme because the entertainment value was so immense coming from this.
And that brings me to my second point. What Playback said in regards to with this red pill rhetoric. There's only so much you can say before it gets repetitive and it gets boring.
And now is the thing, how the Tates were going about it, because they showed this luxurious lifestyle and the nonsense coming out of them. They had this unique entertainment that none of the others could replicate, because they just did not have that status or stature. Like, they were fighters in their past. They kept talking about the Bugatti. The Bugatti thing became a meme at this point. You gotta have the ball head, the Bugatti, the glass. Like, it was just nuts.
It was me.
Yep, you get a significant enough following. You have a very funny or unique image, like Tate with the ball head, and you know what I mean. Everybody wants to dress up and imitate what you look like, and that was just something that they were doing that the others just were not doing, and everybody was flocking on that wave. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, right? So, and even in this beef too, they do a lot of things that's very flamboyant. Provocative,
definitely, yes.
Gets people's attention.
Yep, because that's what it is, the entertainment of it.
And people are so quick to jump on Aba&Preach, but I just want to give them praise, because it's not easy to build from the ground up with nothing.
Yeah.
With content that's kind of in the middle. Without you picking an extreme, it's very hard for you to gather that following, that audience.
Yeah, and grow
entertain.
From that. Yeah.
And they were able to do that without picking an extreme rhetoric, and that's amazing.
Yeah. They literally just observed what was going around them, had conversations about what was happening, and pretty much just growing awareness to different types of things they were interested in. That's always been their thing. A topic they're interested in, their unique perspectives and humors behind it, right? And calling out things that they deem don't make sense. And one of the biggest things for them was calling out some of these red pill goofy behaviors. They wouldn't necessarily entertain, like F&F, they didn't even deal with them too heavily until they kept coming at them constantly during that time period, especially the whole coming after Preach's wife argument. Yeah. And then they have this whole 2-hour live stream where they're talking about basically slaying Aba&Preach with all of this defensive material that, after seeing a good amount of it, me and Brighton per se, it's just you see what they're trying to do, but these arguments are very hollow. They don't have much of a strong standing, and they still haven't shown any accountability for their own DMCA strikes that they were committing like crazy prior. And they got called out on that old live stream before. Remember they had that guy on that show who was trying to explain that you striking individuals was literally the dumbest thing you could have done. You're literally striking against people with no weight or grounds to do so. And they just felt like they could because they gained that clout. And they stayed quiet. They grinded up where they could be over. They're at 1.4 million subscribers, right? While Aba&Preach is almost at 2. So now they're of a solid standings. Oh, yeah. They reached a standing now where it's we can strike back at them again and not even be worried about something happening to the channel. Because when Aba&Preach clapped back and all the other big YouTubers clapped on F&F, they lost subs like crazy. And they had to grind it all the way back 50K. Up. Yeah. No, they lost 100. Because they was almost at 5, and then they literally dipped under 4, and then went to the low 300. Yeah, and they built it all the way back up very slowly. But they played it smart because all the radicals, they kept them in pocket. So when they all got banned, the way to see them was through F&F, and everybody wanted to see those guys.
You know what's kind of funny? How quickly people build up through the red pill. I'm not gonna repeat the same point I said before. Yeah. But it's just funny. You notice Fresh&Fit did their thing, and then what happened? Whatever podcast came out did the same exact thing.
Oh afterwards. Yeah, with all the dudes.
Pearl was out there before Kevin Samuels, but what happened? Kevin Samuels got clapped. Pearl blew up.
Yep, she literally said she grabbed a lot of his dialogue and stuff that he was saying, and really was like, you know what? What he's saying makes a lot of sense. Then she started pushing it out there, and then as a white woman from her background, just hearing her have all these takes, it was just entertainment, bonanza for her.
Right. Andrew Tate, Sneeko blew up out of nowhere. It's just crazy. You just come in, just repeat this rhetoric, and then you swoop in and steal this audience, and it's just damn. Yep. Is it that easy?
Well, how Tate did it,
making content is easy. But
Tate had the perfect background for that. Everything about him.
Lived it.
Exactly. He embodied it, which is funny to see him turn his back on it now.
Right. I mean, when you get arrested for it, sure. But again, that shows you. And again, with the beef, everything, just how disingenuous this all is.
That's the whole thing.
And that's funny because they try to throw that against Aba&Preach. Say that they're the ones that aren't genuine. because they're over here not flaunting their money, right? They're living humble lives.
Like, why?
Even though they clearly got bread. We're assuming. Who knows how to make bread.
Of course they do. Because realistically, when we get of a stature that's akin to that, why would we be out here showing off a lifestyle like that? It just doesn't make sense. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing and what made us do well in the first place. Because the whole point is what does the flexing do?
But apparently, and this is the side of Red Pill that solely focuses on money. And with Aba&Preach, their thought process with what they do is, if you're not exemplifying or showing how great money is, you're not encouraging other people to be their best selves. Which is, I think, crazy, because Aba&Preach said it themselves. Everyone cannot be rich. Right, so you kind of gotta accept yourself for who you are and love yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't,
there is that ceiling. But realistically, what I liked about them, especially with the content, it showed an aspect of you could get there, even of a humble stature. It is difficult. The algorithm is kind of wild, but it's actively like putting those ideas out there and genuinely like putting in that effort and trying. There is a uniqueness to how you got to go about it. There is that.
Right. I mean, you got to be entertaining, sure, but they revealed you don't have to stick to some crazy rhetoric, some crazy ideology.
True, because I'm like, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm either of the pill spectrums, honestly. In the middle is just, I like seeing both sides and understanding where these conversations come from, but then we also we can't just let the lunacy leak out and just ignore it like it's not there. Because it's there. But it is entertaining. I mean, that's why I like Pearl in the beginning. She was pretty funny. But then now it's just like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. It gets stagnant, right? And you know what's funny? All this talk about
love laws,
the Fresh&Fit being disingenuous, but this whole thing could be a ploy because Fresh&Fit might be running out of ideas.
Of course, so they're reigniting an old beef.
Let's be honest. If they did it big booming on the podcast, they weren't blowing up in the first place, because I think that's what really got them started.
Yeah.
And then I don't think they're going to keep relevancy if they were just talking about getting fit.
Nah, I mean, it's an aspect of their claim of trying to motivate men to be better and this and that third.
And this kind of hurts me. Because I'm not going to lie, I was one of the first people outside in the group to start watching Fresh&Fit. I was they really care about men.
And I was like,
they care about men's health.
They don't.
And I was like, damn.
I remember it too. I was like, oh, you're watching Fresh&Fit? You picked the wrong guys, man. And Brian's like, what do you mean? I was like, just keep watching. You'll see it. You'll see it. It exposes itself.
I mean, when we do this video, we're not doing it to completely bash Red Pill, because I would say there's some more positive role models, because I can't really attach to the ideology.
I gotta really think of some.
The Joker is one.
The Joker, I gotta look him up.
That's how I first learned about the Red Pill, and I think he's kept a sane mind, kept true to his own words, and he's somebody you could listen to for self-improvement.
Because it's weird. I've always heard about it. I just don't know who I started it off with. Because the thing is, the pandemic had everybody slowed down and struggling, you know? While the Red Pill message was just trying to be, you need to become your best self. You need to become this. You need to become that. Like, in essence, it was trying to push, don't get stuck here because the world is going goofy. You're still alive. It's still going, right? So it's thus, you need to become the greatest version of yourself. And it's like that starting message was great. Then it started getting kind of goofy with the high value. What does it mean to be high value? And then you need to be a man whore, but you also need to have an amazing family life. And I'm just like, how do these two things make sense?
And Pearl and FNF were attacking Aba for calling them out.
Yeah.
These inconsistencies and these, again, wild ideologies.
Yes, and that's all they did.
That's now we're here. And now let's address some of the ish they were saying on that 2.5 hour rant they had. One calling Peach a monkey, calling him a beast and all that.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Bizarre. It's just like, if just doing that, it's a horrible look, especially for black people as a whole. Because it's just like, it's goofy stereotypes, catering to old nonsensical messages, just berating your own people. Like, how does that make us as a whole look?
Right. And then the attack on masculinity, which is like the craziest thing, I believe, for a red pillar to do. Right? Your whole thing is to encourage men to be the best masculine selves. I was about to say masculine. Masculine selves, but in a positive way. So it was just crazy to me that they say this stuff and it doesn't help, man. It just further separates us. Separates everybody.
But it seems like they love the division. They're like the weak men must be stamped out.
And the way they attacked masculinity too. They attacked it, just basically calling everything Aba&Preach did gay. Which is like, wow, you breathe the wrong way. And again, the issues I have with it is the hypocrisy.
Honestly. Especially because they're talking about Aba&Preach having no integrity, them being disingenuous, and they're trying to come at old takes that they've already clarified in future videos afterwards. It's just that they didn't want to keep entertaining F and F, because if you keep entertaining a dummy, you look like a dummy.